4:03, and I'll call the meeting of the Ag and Rural Affairs for September 19th, 2023 to order. Approval of minutes, please. The minutes from the prior meeting. The date of the prior meeting is August 15th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Has there been a motion and a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the like sign. Thank you very much. Public appearances for non-agenda items. I see no one here. So, agenda review.
There are
Deanna.
no changes that staff has for agenda.
Okay. Number 5 is agenda items. Wells in agricultural community discussion. So, Deanna, if you would, here comes our member. Cool. Good morning, sir. Afternoon, sir. Afternoon to you. Number 5, Deanna.
Okay, so I'll give you, in your packet, you had a previous memo that was put together by the Assistant Director of
Got it.
Public
Thank
Works
you.
Office of Tobacco. A couple weeks ago, actually, it's probably before, on August 22nd, council adopted the ordinance to make the change. I put it in your packet. Ordinance 23014 was adopted by council on October 22nd. And this was after Ag and Rural had reviewed the proposed ordinance once and then came back again to Ag and Rural. You might recall prior to the August 20, it would have been the August meeting for Ag and Rural, you all discussed and offered some amendments. I don't have those off the top of my head, but essentially to allow existing well to be re-drilled, a new well. Council did not support your amendments to the ordinance, and council did support a small change that the Board of Public Works put forward, and then a small change that Plan Commission put forward. So what before you is the ordinance that was passed by council, and I brought this back upon your request for discussion to see if you are interested in proposing some additional changes, updates to the ordinance, to the Code of Ordinances related to wells.
Okay.
I
Thank
don't
you.
if I missed something, and I don't know if Randy, if you would like to speak to anything here as the council rep.
No, I think you've outlined everything at this point. Mark was there that evening. If there's something
I
that,
was.
yeah, something that he'd like to add, but
No, I didn't feel that they were against it. I think they
Right.
they sent it back for more information.
correct.
As a standalone is what that's kind of the feeling I got.
I think they just wanted to separate it out and stick with the original intent of the resolution.
So anyway, that's what's everybody's thought on it. George?
Was, on the 10 acres, was that restriction removed?
Yes.
It was removed.
It removed down to 0.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I.
Was it down to 0 or was it down to 3?
No, I think it was down to 0, if I'm not
Well,
mistaken.
Yeah,
what-
that was my
Well, the wording, if you want
Okay.
to. I'm taking it simplistic.
So it falls back onto the agricultural zoning, and then the smallest in small lot ag is 3 acres.
Right.
Yeah, so,
So
yeah, okay,
it will be 3 acres due to the zoning.
due to the zoning. Cool, and that works fine.
Okay.
So,
That was the only question I had on it.
Okay. Roger,
I'm fine.
any thoughts on, my only, Amy, running for us?
Not yet, I don't think.
Okay, well, I'll start it. My only,
Sister.
I would like to see the ordinance amended so that a farmer who has A1 zoning, ag transitional zoning, or ag small, be able to replace a well if their well that is now feeding the humans and the animals goes bad, that they could replace that well. And right now, they cannot. And it would be allowed for, but it would go with the zoning. So if the zoning wasn't, it was a different zoning, then it's not considered.
Okay.
But if your zoning is ag exclusive, ag transitional, or ag small, you would be able to replace your well. So
So that's the part that they rejected then of our
they
suggestion?
didn't reject it.
Or-
I don't feel they rejected it, but they wanted to deal with it as
Yes.
Randy said.
Separate.
They
item.
separated that portion out.
Okay.
They just wanted to keep to the original intent of the original resolution,
That
so they
was
can move
brought
it forward. They wanted more discussion.
Yeah.
Just, yeah. So,
So that's why we're here tonight. That's the only thing on the agenda for us tonight. And that's what I propose.
Yeah.
Would- You know, what's everybody's thought on that, if you have any? It's a real problem for some of the farms. There's one on over on Lacey Road on the west side, the O'Brien Farm, the Stoneman Farm. Anybody that's got a farm where there's a water line that runs by it, Dave Fay's farm, because he's touched in the back, not the front, with water. So if he were to lose his well, he couldn't replace it. And from the back, there's a huge distance to come all the way down to
Well, that wouldn't be feasible.
well, it's feasible, but it wouldn't be, the cost would not be feasible, it would be. But that's the way our ordinance reads right now. So if that happened to him, our ordinance doesn't say, well, if it's not cost effective. It just says that's the way it is. And I'd like to fix that before we're dealing with somebody who can't afford to do it.
So is the council looking for a recommendation from us then how to reword this? Do you know, Randy, what they're looking for?
I believe that's correct, Deanna, would that be your assumption?
My understanding is that you would make a recommendation of the changes to the ordinance that you'd want. Staff would review it, and then we would propose to council a change in the ordinance.
Okay.
Roger, thoughts?
Oh, boy, I've been giving this a lot of thought. Let me make sure I'm clear. A landowner has a well right now, and that well is used for human consumption and for livestock or irrigation or gardening.
Okay,
So the well is right there, and it's doing that purpose right now.
yep.
City water runs by
Yes.
while this well is working.
Yes.
And that person, that landowner, can use that well as long as it's functional.
Correct.
They're not required to jump in just because the water went by. Okay. Now, the operation is either livestock or gardening. They're feeding the livestock, irrigating.
And they have,
The well goes bad.
and it's egg exclusive zone.
Yeah, it's in, AX, AT, if it's small. it goes bad. They then, if I understand correctly, the way this is reading, is that they are now required, and the word required is a pretty strong word, but they are required to hook up to the city water because their well has gone bad. Now, they are still feeding livestock. They are still irrigating. Okay, so how do they get the water for that part of their enterprise when it's been noted that city water is not the best compatible for livestock feeding? Okay.
Or for vegetables.
Or for vegetables. Okay, we're at this point. So the landowner has to hook up to the city water, and he has to repair his well
Or replace it.
or replace it because he's got to go and feed his livestock and vegetables. There gets to be at that point. That's where I get really kind of concerned about the ruling on having to hook up. If I want to know, what I want to know is why is he required to hook up? Do we have an ordinance or something that is mandated to say that he must hook up?
I believe we do. I believe we do.
And if we do, which I think we do, but if we do, I'd like to know the rationale behind it. Is it an economic benefit to the city? Or just why does he have to do that? Because someplace an ordinance has been written with some background to that ordinance to say that. And what I can't find is what is behind that ruling. And once we find that out, I mean, it may be something that cannot be changed, but I'd sure like to know that part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Just so that I'm clear, you want to know the section of code that refers to you have to hook up if your well goes bad.
Yes.
And then number 2, what is the ruling behind that ordinance?
Right. Yeah, what's the rationale behind it?
Sorry.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I have to agree on that, Roger, 100%. I was wondering that at our last meeting. I was surprised we didn't get an answer before now. But I think our whole objective is to not impose a burden on agricultural land and a long-time residents that have been in ag. I mean,
Is there a waiver right now how it stands? Because this seems to me as like a financial burden, undue hardship on a person. So if you are having to replace your well to feed your livestock and now you're all of a sudden having to spend, I mean, maybe even $10,000 to hook up to city water, it just seems to me that that's like an undue hardship or burden. So there would have to be a waiver in place, or is there?
I mean, I can speak to that. That's what this ordinance was about. What are the criteria for the waiver?
Well, if the person, it all comes down to the livestock and the vegetable or needs for water. That's where the rub is, right there. And if a person, to me, it would be, if a person can show that his well's, now assume now his well has gone bad, that's bad. If he can actually, that landowner can show that they are in that business.
He's already zoned accordingly. Why should he have to
Yeah.
prove it?
Well, Well, I'm looking at, you could be zoned that way and not have all this. You could be zoned and not have
But what
livestock.
about the next person that comes, Roger, like the grandson that has livestock?
And they're already hooked up with water to the city?
Sounds like a little bit of unneeded money was spent.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of a waiver to get around it, is what I'm working at. If we have a waiver to get around it, to where, if a person came and said, hey, listen, I've got all of this right now, I don't want to hook up to city water, and the ordinance says I do, I want a waiver to do that.
A waiver is also discretionary, and
That's right.
who is in
That's right.
charge of saying yes or no. So I don't think that's the best solution. I think right now, as it's written today, a waiver would be necessary, but I think the best solution is doing away with this whole need for a waiver. If my well goes bad and I am an Ag X or an A1, if my well goes bad, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to spend $10,000, I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to hook up to city water on top of it too.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get around.
So I think this needs to be reworked, rewritten. I'm not interested in discussing a waiver. If something happened to somebody tomorrow, I hope that we could accommodate a waiver. But moving forward, I don't think that's our intention to have a waiver.
How would you like it written?
I would like it written that I would just like it totally deleted entirely. And if my well goes bad, there's no negotiation, no room for discussion. Just because city water came to me, I can guarantee you that farm was there years, 100 years before the city built out to it. And we're not in a position, we shouldn't be, to penalize a landowner just because the city has grown out to me now here.
Well, let's use Stoneman's, for example.
Well, yeah.
The Stoneman farm has been there a long time. The Stoneman family's been on there since 1917.
Way more than 100 years.
And water came by their land in order to feed the subdivision that was south of theirs, an old subdivision that had a limited system in it. They tied the system together to give more volume to it. So, but because they did that, if their well went bad, they would not be able to replace it for the same usage. They would have to drill a well for the cattle and run a water line into the house.
Because they're living there. And that just doesn't make sense to me. That's undue hardship. That's
And Dave Fay would be in the same situation, so would Pat O'Brien.
So do you have a suggestion, Deanna? I think you know where we're going with this. We've been going this direction for a while.
I think it's fairly straightforward, just a change to the ordinance that an existing well on an agricultural zone can redig, can install a new
Can be repaired or replaced.
repaired or replaced.
And wells, Fred McGibbon had a well that went bad.
Oh, yeah, but well, we all are that. I've got the same
Well,
thing too.
what happened with his, the casing collapsed,
Yeah.
so they couldn't re-drill it.
Well, to be expected over time.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
And so he had to drill a new well. Well, he's far enough out where it wasn't an issue. But Stolmans or myself couldn't do that.
Deanna, can we just simply put writing into that and just say that any AX or small farm or transitional ag can have a well and just, that's it? Can we just do that?
No, I wouldn't. I don't know if Public Works is going to say that any agricultural parcel can have a well.
Okay, so do we?
I
Properly
think,
zoned,
I think that,
properly zoned parcel.
I think you're going to be better off just saying to repair or replace an existing well.
Yeah, I
And
believe-
the reason that I'm saying that is because in my zoning world, in my planning world, if you're doing a new well, that's new development, that's a different kind of world.
Yeah.
But, so,
Explain that. You're doing,
if there isn't a well there, then you're doing new development,
you're creating a farm.
you're creating a new farm, essentially.
But that is what this ordinance that passed the other day allowed them to do. And they'll use.
For, not for human, but
Well,
not
I'll
for
use the
human
Woodland Park,
consumption.
Right.
for example.
Yeah,
And,
For agricultural uses only.
Right.
Not for human consumption.
yeah.
But if a well goes bad on an existing
farm.
ag property, I would think it should be more optional for the landowner at that time to either hook up or to choose to just re-drill as well and repair as well as it was being used. But if there's a zoning change, then I think that's different, yeah. If there's a
it's a
sale
zoning
and a
change,
zoning
then
change or a development,
The zoning has to be ag, to be able to replace your well.
Yeah, that's what we're getting at here, I think.
So the key is, the zoning would be the protector, or to the city. If you don't have the right zoning, then you certainly don't qualify. Hello. We do? We're discussing the water, asking for creating a change to the ordinance to allow for existing water, or existing farm to be replaced, so.
I think this goes back to where Roger started here with, why was this put in there in the first place? The requirement to hook up if you're within the 200-foot range and you're zoned ag.
I think that's a very old requirement. I think it's been there
Yeah. I
for a
assume,
long time. I don't think there's any, that hasn't changed. What changed was to, and prior, the exceptions to that requirement were very difficult to meet. And the Paisley Farm issue came up, and so that's what stimulated the change to say, no human consumption. However, if it's for agricultural purposes, then you could drill the new well.
And it may go back to the beginning of the city, when we went from the town to the city. What happened because of the time frame, and I was on the last town board. And so there was a lot of scrambling, and I think a lot of, if I remember correctly, there was a lot of ordinances and things that were pulled from here and here and here
Probably very
and
unintentional.
plugged in. So I think that may where some
I've
of that.
thought that from the start, that it was unintentional.
I would agree.
Because how do we predict the future? I
Yeah,
mean, we don't have a crystal ball.
I think it has to have been
I
unintentional.
think that
Yeah.
is,
But
was
this is a
plugged
good
in.
time to address it, though. This-
Yeah. So we need to just, I think we should make a motion on how to word this and how to write this, so then it can go back to the staff for review and then be forwarded on to the council. So does anyone have any suggestions for wording? My suggestion is that an existing well on a piece of agricultural land, may it be zoned the various different categories, be allowed to be repaired or replaced. Period. If the owner of the property decides they wanted to hook up to city water and it's available to them at that time, so be it. But I doubt that will happen because of the cost burden. So I think wording it that, I'll make a motion that we rewrite this section to allow for an existing well on an agricultural zoned piece of land to be repaired or replaced in the event that it goes bad.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So we're putting it in there that it's optional for the landowner, which I,
The landowner would have,
Essentially, it is.
Their
yeah.
discretion, at the
Yeah.
landowner's, should I
Yeah.
at the landowner's discretion, an existing well be repaired or replaced.
I think that's very good. I think everything, because a lot of circumstances may be different, like bringing it across the road instead of it being right next door. Mm-hmm. The cost, you know.
is the second all right with that change?
Second's fine with that.
Okay. Randy, anything from you?
No, nothing further. I think it satisfies the original intent of
Right.
of the discussion 2 months ago.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been my feeling from the start, so. Any thoughts?
It's repaired or replaced, so it'd be in the same spot. Because I thought we had some discussions about.
Shelley?
I'm batting 100 tonight. I thought we've had some discussions in the past about it wouldn't have to be in the same place, but, so repair, or replace with that.
Step 5 says that.
Intend to be in the same place.
That may not be the
No.
exact physical
no.
place.
No,
but-
if you have to replace it, you may be digging
10 feet away.
10 feet away or 20, or whatever you have to
Maybe
do.
it makes more sense maybe it's 50 feet away, just whatever, I mean, that,
On that parcel somewhere.
yeah, right, on that, but you couldn't just, it doesn't have to be in the same place, just somewhere on that parcel. If it made more sense to move it over here, you should have that.
But the first one, the original one has to fail.
Yes.
In one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise we wouldn't be doing this.
Right. I mean.
Sounds
Yeah.
fairly clear.
We'll call for a vote.
Because
All
Vote's been called for.
of those in.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, a like sign. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Thank you. Yeah, in my case, if I had to replace mine, it's down by my daughter's house. I probably would replace it closer to my house. Because she has to go on, her zoning on her property changed. So she has to go on city water, but the rest of us don't. Well, being it's so far down, it's going to be a challenge for us to make that physically work. So we can do it, it's just, but a situation like that may come up, so.
Can I just make a point, have a suggestion? I assume that obviously the reason to kind of curtail new private wells is a public works issue. And when something like this comes up, would it be helpful to have a public works representative here? Because it's not fair for Deanna to be the expert in every single area of the city.
We certainly try. We do what we can. I recognize your thought, and it's not always possible.
Okay.
Staff, as you might imagine, Public Works has a lot of meetings too.
Oh, yeah, they're busy this time of the year. Okay, any staff report or any other things from you, Diana?
Yeah, if you would, I would just like to talk briefly about a couple of items. The first one is the neighborhood plans for South Stoner Prairie, and then Greenfield neighborhood plan are off and running. We've had our kickoff meeting with the consultants MSA a couple weeks ago, and then actually yesterday we had our first kind of in-staff meeting with the consultants and Public Works to just kind of sort through utilities and transportation issues. So just wanted to let you know things are moving along. I will keep you in the loop on progress and be bringing you regular updates on the planning process, and make sure you all know when there's public meetings too.
Has the committee been assigned for the Greenfield extension? I know Stoner Prairie South, it has, but
The committee, we have our broad categories of committee members, but we're just finalizing the actual names of persons.
okay.
Still working on the details of exactly who's on those steering committees.
What
Thank
are
you.
the parameters of the physical parameters of the proposed areas?
You know, I should have brought up my map. If you'll just give me a sec here. We can do that. If I get a little support from Ag and Rural, I'm sorry, if I get a little support from IT.
Cool. I think we will.
Thanks for helping out.
Oh. This is new, isn't it?
This is brand new, Roger. This is new technology.
All right.
Cool.
Glad you're here.
All right, you got me?
Yep.
Okay.
Kind of popped on. It like flashed.
So the Greenfield neighborhood plan is shown here in the pretty blue. So just north of Irish Lane captures the Stoneman Farms, and then we extend over to 14, and the west edge is Kane, and then we go almost down to Burn Road. And so that's your Greenfield neighborhood plan.
Okay.
So that's our entire study area.
Everything in the blue.
Everything in the blue is your entire study area for the
On the other
Greenfield.
side of 14 in the red, what is that?
That's just a future urban area development.
Okay.
And so in order to bring, just so that we're all on the same page, in order to extend our urban service area here in Fitchburg, we do a neighborhood plan. Of course, the McGaw neighborhood plan there in the bright green has been done for several years.
Yes.
And so doing the neighborhood plan for Greenfield is the first step to kind of look at where Fitchburg is going to grow in the future.
Okay. And the pink down below?
The pink is another future area development. It doesn't have a name yet. And then our last one is the southeast one.
Okay. Okay. And then the Stoner Prairie one?
Yep, let me go. Stoner Prairie is up on the far west side of the city, south of Lacey, and stretches over to Fitchrona.
And that we have dealt with the quarrying and,
Yes, you all have reviewed the quarry plans, and
Yep.
the quarry, let me just make
yeah,
it easier.
they're in process at the time.
They're starting to move dirt right now. The quarry will be located in this entire area.
Okay, cool. Now, let me ask a question. The last time we did a neighborhood plan like this, there was plenty of input. But the option of not developing was not one of the boxes that was considered.
Yeah.
So, how will we handle that subject next time? If the neighborhood says, no, we want to just stay like we are.
I think you have a really interesting test coming up here with Greenfield. So what I will say, we have a robust community engagement process looking forward. The planning staff has no intention of ignoring what property owners and what residents are interested in. We are primarily, our goal is to create a plan for the city that meets the needs of the city.
Okay.
So I, as the city planner, certainly wouldn't preclude no development.
Okay, that was not the case for the people in the positions at the time of the last one.
You're right. I mean, he's right.
So I'm just gonna say, I as the city planner, right? There's I don't have,
Yeah. All I'm saying
I don't
is-
have the magic wand.
No, all I'm saying is that wasn't an option to even look at the last time, and they admitted that. That was, I was trying to think who the planners were at that time.
Wait. Tom.
No,
Well,
Deanna's
after
position.
Tom was Sonia.
Sonia, it was Sonia.
I got a question.
Sonia was
Roger has a question.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Can you go back to that?
You bet.
Yeah, up here to this. Okay. You see that parcel just to the west? It's a parcel with a waterway through it?
This one?
Yep.
Yeah, and that whole, isn't that slated for development?
It is. Yep,
Okay, so what will happen eventually is this whole block will be filled in.
it will.
Okay.
And that is already, correct me if I'm wrong, Deanna, that has already, the Hammersley property has already been
In the urban service
in the
area?
urban service area.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the
So
red
that-
dashed line is, it's a little difficult to see, but that is the current urban service area, so that means that utilities can be extended to those
To
lands.
those lands.
And,
That part of it's already been done quite a while back.
Yeah, is there any
Yeah.
goal on the planning for the 235.92 acres?
for
The shaded
South,
in, yeah.
for South Stoner Prairie?
Right, is
Yeah.
there the objective for the goal on that is?
I don't know what exactly what the planning process will propose yet.
Okay.
That's really gonna have to come out of the planning process. If
And-
it's going to be a mix
Right,
of
right, okay.
industrial, commercial, housing, that's what our planning process will go through.
And that'll probably come together as demand, probably, but
We will certainly look at the economic
But-
side of things.
as far as the other portion that Roger talked about there, isn't that scheduled to
would be
be
Hammersley's.
filled in like in 2025 or?
Yeah.
So I don't
think
know
there was
about a schedule, but for this piece.
Approximately, I
Yeah,
guess,
for this piece, Plan Commission has already approved a comprehensive development plan for residential development. It's my understanding most of the engineering is done. The property owner has just not moved forward on the project yet.
That would be the Hammersley property.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Deanna, can you talk just a little bit about the Greenfield neighborhood, what that might look like? You said Keene Road and Burn Road, and I sat up a little taller in my chair.
Okay, so this is Burn Road. If you can follow my cursor on the bottom, in my little white cursor,
Yep.
that's Burn Road. And then this is Kane. So here's where Kane meets Burn Road right there.
Yep.
So that's the extent, in blue, is the extent of the study area. And then this would be, we can see Cyene barely, and then that's Irish Lane. Through here.
So what is do we have any scope of what this might become?
At this point, I do not. That's what the planning process will bring us to start thinking about what works there and what's in the city's interests.
That includes the Stoneman Farm,
It does.
the rest of the Fay Farm.
Well, I'm not sure if this is Fahey right here. I'm not sure that's Stoneman.
I mean, that is literally taking a lot of green field. I see why it's called the green field.
Yeah, well, that was around,
Well, the neighborhood there,
Property.
this neighborhood is known as the Greenfield
and
neighborhood.
that would include
Yeah.
the Keene property
I see a lot of green fields.
and the Jones property.
It does include the Jones property, doesn't it?
It does.
Does it
And,
include any of mine? I don't think so. I'm like on the
you-
cutoff
you-
there
No,
at
it
the
would
burning
not
key.
include- No, it would not.
I'm down here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
would-
around
would
that curve.
include,
Uncle
Francesca's
Yeah. Grandma and Grandpa.
and Pat's land.
Yeah.
What is the red in, again, the red area is,
That's a future neighborhood. That would be a future neighborhood plan. There is nothing on our books to start a planning process there. That's a very, very long
East of
term.
Highway
Yeah,
14.
long ways away.
So that would be across the railroad tracks?
right, up to 14.
Would be everything up to 14.
Oh, wait a minute, this is, no.
Greenfield goes to 14.
It does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah,
14.
here's 14.
Oh my gosh.
Here's MM.
Yep, and this is
Okay.
M,
Oh,
and
wow.
here's where B comes in. And like I said,
Okay.
Burn Road is right down here, you know, where it takes the little loop.
Yeah, oh, I
Little
know.
dip.
I could drive it in my sleep, I know, so evidently.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is quite a, and
That's
the
a
reason
chunk.
it doesn't come all the way down is there's wetland in part of this bottom down
Thank
here.
God.
Yeah,
for
it kind
wetlands.
of, the bottom part follows that creek.
Bring on the rain.
Deanna,
Yeah.
one more area I wanted to see, your thoughts on or what's happening. You take the Lacey Farm, you're going down
Whalen or?
and Wayland, down to Wayland, which would be,
Because here's Lacey, right?
okay, come down, and then come down clear to Wayland.
Okay, so I think I'm on Whalen right along here.
Okay, here, it's up above it. So that whole area, the area from there clear up to Lacey, where your cursor is, all the way up to Lacey, has that ever been considered to come into the urban service area down to Wayland?
So that is something also that I did want to discuss with you all. So the mayor's priority is to start to redo a full new comprehensive plan for the city starting next year. And one of our priorities is to relook at those future urban development areas. So right now, as we've been talking about, these are our color blocks are our future urban development areas. So, and then of course we're doing the South Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Plan and then the Greenfield Neighborhood Plan.
But we might not be after we take a second look?
We'll be doing those neighborhood plans.
Okay.
But the second look in the comprehensive plan process could relook at creating a FUDA in this area.
From Lacey to Wayland?
That'd be the Lacey Farm, the Alt Farms,
Yep.
O'Brien's.
There's some,
Romans.
there's some interest in, you know, I'm a planner, so I'm not gonna say anything other than there's some interest.
Other than I have a lot of interest.
To look at extending the urban growth this way, out off of Lacey, off of O'Brien, down towards Wayland.
As we look at these parcels for development, are the developers that are coming to us, are they saying they need more land? How much land do we have currently that we can offer for development? I mean,
You're gonna get me. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but we do have a lot of land. You know, all of the land up of 14 in Lacey,
Terravessa.
and there's quite a bit for Terravessa still left, but this is the Nine Springs right in here.
yeah,
We've already did the neighborhood plans for these two pieces of McGaw. Of course, this is the Bowman, 160 acres in here. And then Bowman has a bunch of land up here too.
Right.
So we have a lot of acreage. But I think what is happening, even though we have a lot of interest in development, and we get regular inquiries for new development, if the landowners aren't in a position to develop, the land doesn't develop, right? It takes several factors there, and the landowners have to be interested in proceeding with development.
Well, I hope it's that way. It hasn't, historically, it has not always been that way.
Oh my gosh.
Swan Creek was zone A1 exclusive, and the city changed that zoning to ag transitional.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had zoned it that to protect it,
Goodbye.
and that was changed for me,
Good.
against my
Big push to fill.
objections.
Good.
I see.
Take it.
I see.
But
Stay away
it
from-
seems like
True.
at this time, the amount of planning and areas of land that they're looking into plans for, it seems like, and also the demand from developers, it seems like we've got quite a bit that's, they can look at right now without
Yeah.
looking into more. You know, it just seems like there's quite a bit of time and quite a bit of land right now that possibly could be developed. And but I think it's all based on developers and market demand too, and the landowners if they're ready. I can understand that. But it seems like as time goes on, more landowners become ready to develop. Also,
It's a financial consideration, I'm sure. But it would, the neighborhood plan is a good thing, because it will bring your landowners out to have an open discussion about whether that's something they want to do, and then we'll know. So I just want to make sure that in the process that there be a box at the bottom with no change, which we did not have before.
I hear your concerns, and I guess we'll have to, what I will say is that we will definitely listen to the landowners and the people.
Yep,
That-
that's fair. That's all you can ask. Thank you.
Somebody might be.
But, uh,
Couple other quick ones, and then I think I will step aside.
If, in the Greenfield one, I will volunteer to be on that committee when it
Thank you.
comes to that point.
I'll let you know if where we are.
Thank you.
So the city did receive an application for a conditional use permit for a solar farm that will come before you
Yep.
in October on this parcel that is owned by Adam Guile. So I just wanted to bring that forward for you. You will see that next month. The city has also had a couple of meetings with MG&E, and then,
Was there not one on the alt and the?
Yeah, I'm gonna-
And the,
and the Mant.
and Matt
Yep.
property, right along the power lines?
Yep, a second solar farm is proposed in this general vicinity. And the city has had a couple meetings regarding that with MG&E, and then also EDF, who would be the developer. And they have not submitted for a conditional use permit, but I just wanted to put that on your radar.
is there a proposed size to the
Very
those?
different than my fields.
I think
Very much.
the Burn Road one is about 6 megawatts. I don't know, is it like 25 acres or something like that?
30 acres according to
30
this.
acres. Thank you.
That would be
Just
on Adams?
received.
That would be on Adams?
The neighborhood notice.
Okay.
Would that be on Adams
Yeah.
property?
Yeah,
Yes.
this one
okay.
is on.
This
We're talking
one
about Burn
up here
Road,
on
right?
Alt and Mant is much larger and not finalized in area and scope.
Okay.
Where is this one, Deanna?
The second one, she was wondering.
It's in this general vicinity.
I don't know what the roads are.
Like Highway M.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So this is Fish Hatchery,
Okay.
and then this is Whalen. This is Seminole, and this is Munchler.
Okay. So it's between Fish Hatchery and Muchler and.
Correct, on, right south of,
This is Burnland.
Right south of Burnland, on the grade, that's adjacent to the power lines.
So maybe 2 solar farm applications coming in?
Maybe 2 or 3.
2 or 3? We're really rolling in that direction.
You know
aren't
a third?
Yeah,
we? Really?
I do.
Okay. Okay.
And you and I've talked about that, that would be further north.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you could make that work.
Trying.
Okay. I'm finished up with my department comments this evening.
Thank you very much, Deanna. Any other thing come before the committee?
Oh, yes, I do.
Roger?
The mayor approached me the other day and mentioned something that she's interested in and maybe exploring, and that is putting up a historical display someplace where it would promote agriculture, Fitchburg agriculture, with old equipment, any memorabilia that we might have in the area. That could be worked in with the Historical Society and everything. And just, she wanted me to kind of get a feeling of what that thought might be with this group. I'm not sure to what extent she's thinking, other than it would be something to promote a visitors center type thing to promote agriculture in Fitchburg. Something for you to give a thought about. We don't have to get into it, but wanted to bring it up for you to be thinking about it.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be interesting. Anything else? If there's nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.